huge amount of time to cover lots of different things today, so I've just pinned myself. And if it's okay with you, would you be able to mute yourself just in case? Because yesterday I had someone who had feedback of my voice through their thing, which wasn't that brilliant. But yeah, so if you could go ahead and do that, that would be great. So just to introduce myself, my name is Paige. I am on staff at Christ Community Church with Rob. And for the last year and a half, 50% of my role with the church has been solely focused on serving our church with Who Cares as a regular rhythm for church life. So I know the seminar title is Top Tips for Doing Who Cares, and that will be the case, but it's sort of filtered through the fact that we're doing it regularly throughout the year with kind of everything that we do. So I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to pass on some of our learning to you, so you won't have to make some of the same mistakes that we have. So this is our second year of doing Who Cares as a regular rhythm, and we've also done two kind of big missions as a church, as you guys are going to be doing very soon. So hopefully I'll have some tips to give you. There is going to be quite a lot of information, so I'm going to go through things fairly systematically and go through kind of different ways that we've done Who Cares in detail, so that hopefully you can see what Who Cares actually looks like, how it actually runs, how you could do the timings for things, and well, hopefully you'll see as we go along. So when Rob said that he wanted to do Who Cares regularly throughout the year and kind of as a continuous process, that kind of seemed a bit daunting to me. But as time has gone on, it's actually super simple, and I'm hoping that you're kind of getting the vibe from what Rob has shared this morning, that actually Who Cares is very simple and you run it through what you already do. So I'm not going to be able to tell you everything that we've done over the last almost 2 years with Who Cares. I'm just going to give you kind of 6 examples of ways that we've done it, and hopefully you'll get some creative ideas about how you can run it through your context. And I do realise as well that it's going to look slightly different because you're going to be doing Who Cares in kind of a post-coronavirus world. And I am going to give some of our learning from doing it online over the last few months at the end. So hopefully that will be helpful to you too. Okay, I'm going to share my screen now with my PowerPoint.
Sorry, some of us seem only just have joined you, Paige. Can you just
Okay.
briefly resume? Thank you.
Yeah, that's fine. Hello, if you have just joined, my name is Paige. I'm on staff at Christ Community Church with Rob, and 50% of my role is based on serving our church with Who Cares as a regular rhythm of church life. So I'm just going to give you some examples of what we've done over the last sort of year and a half, and hopefully you'll get some creative ideas about how you can run Who Cares in your context. So I'm going to share my screen now. Is my volume okay for everyone? Yeah, brilliant. Okay, here we go. So we're doing Who Cares in Attleborough in Norfolk, which is a small market town that we love and know, and have got lots of opportunities to connect with many more people. So here's my step 1 for how we started doing Who Cares. So what I did was I just got a big piece of paper and wrote down all the areas of our church life that I thought Who Cares could run through. And so for us, this was community groups, our youth, our church youth work, social action with a parent and toddler group, our youth outreach, which actually has 9 different strands to it, so I just picked 2 to start. Our senior citizens coffee mornings, our ladies events, groups in the community, street work, and then in recent months we've done it online. So that was a really helpful exercise, and I would really recommend you doing that. And even if you just wrote down everything that you do and then thought, oh no, actually I don't think it'll work with that or that, it's a good process to go through. And my brief was as a regular rhythm with as many areas as possible. So we would each listen and respond once a year over a period of 1 term. Obviously yours will look slightly different to that, but again, it's just a good exercise to go through how long you want to be doing things. Then my next step was to basically split all of those areas of church life over a 2-year period, which it was for us, but again, that would be different for you. and you can see my rundown of how I planned to do things. It hasn't exactly gone to plan, but that's fine. You know, Who Cares is meant to serve you and your church, not the other way around. So I won't go through everything on here, but you can kind of see how we've split those across the 2-year period. And what we did, if you can see at the end of each term, we've got a WC Sunday, that's a Who Cares Sunday, to kind of punctuate each term, and I'm going to talk about that just now. So this is a flyer for a first Who Cares Sunday that we did, and what a Who Cares Sunday is for us is it's not a whole load of huge new work for us on a Sunday every term. All it is that we're using the sermon to preach on one of the topics that came up throughout the term as you're asking your areas of church life. And so the first one that we did, we picked the topic of rejection, so who cares when I'm rejected? And at that Sunday service, we also had some balloons hanging up and banners and kind of just made it a little bit special. And we had some live testimonies as well. And so our kind of learning points from these Who Cares Sundays are just making it a little bit special by having some banners and balloons really helped kind of just lift the atmosphere and make people think, oh, this is a bit different today. The live testimonies were so important. So just getting some people in your church, 2 or 3 people, maybe even one, to come and just share their story of how Jesus has helped them through that particular topic. So I think we had 3 people on this one just come and share their stories. And that, I think, is what people seem to remember the most when they come along. So that's super important. And then another learning point was not to make the topic too specific. When we did Who Cares When I'm Rejected, it was our first one, but actually we found that the invite for that specific topic was quite difficult because, I mean, not many people want to come to an event that suggests that they've been rejected in their life. So what we found as time has gone on is that we've made the topics a bit broader. So we've done Who Cares When I'm Worried, Who Cares When I'm Stressed. You know, they don't have that element of shame attached to them, I think. And so this is an example flyer of what we did. I'm also going to show you some other examples in a minute. And also from our Who Cares Sundays, we've started making booklets out of the sermons that we've done. So again, it's not a whole load of extra work. We just kind of took the sermon, made it into a booklet form on Mixam. But you could use whatever website you wanted to, and we just printed those in-house, and I think we did 50 copies to start with, but actually have found that they're really popular and really easy to give away, and someone might not come to a service on Who Cares When I'm Rejected, but they might take a booklet on it discreetly from a table that you put at the back. So yeah, there's some learning points. Here's another couple of example flyers that we've done. So we've printed them and given them out by hand. We've put them on our church Facebook, social media, etc. We've also put them on the Attleborough community pages. So it's just a way to get that wider. Here's another one that we did. And just to say that if you want this PowerPoint and these examples, then you can email Lorna. I'll give you the details at the end and she'll send that across to you, and you can even have my notes as well. Here's another one as well. Okay, next example is community groups. So we plan to do a community group every term. That didn't quite go to plan, but that's okay. So the first community group that we trialled Who Cares with, we decided that 5 weeks was plenty time to ask the question to our friends and neighbours and colleagues. And so what they did was they took maybe 3 cards each week, I think was their goal, and they would write down the 3 people that they were going to try and ask that week and share it with the group. And then they would go away and do that during the week, and then on the following week they would bring it back, put all the answers in the middle, thank God for the opportunity that they've had, make it a bit of a celebration, and also pray over those cards. And so they did that over 5 weeks. Then had a week of the data processing, just putting those in the data tool and seeing what came up. And then this community group decided to do a fish and chip night at our church building and have 3 interviews of again, people sharing their story of how Jesus has helped them. So this particular topic was who cares about family life, the pressures of family life. And as a result of that, one person has come along to our church and is definitely on the journey to faith. She's very much part of our church now, and also 2 people got booked onto our next Alpha course. So it's super worth it. That was quite easy. But if you felt like actually putting on another event is going to be too much, then you really could just invite someone to your normal community group evening to share their story. And what we've done with the community groups, and what we found is it's really, really good way to do Who Cares, because it's much more intentional. You can go back to the exact people that you asked the question to, and it's very personal, very personable, and we've just found that it works really, really well. And what we did on the back of those flyers was, because it was so intimate and personal, we did this thank you card. And we said, thank you for taking part in Who Cares, and here's some other support that you could get. So even if they didn't come to your event, you're giving them another access point, or several access points, that they can come and receive other support or connect with people at other times. And so we trialled that the first time, and we've ended up using it again and again and again, adapting it for each group as we do our response, and it's worked really well. So you could put whatever support you have going on in your church on the back of this. If you take the PowerPoint, you could literally copy it. That's absolutely fine. I think that's it for community groups. Here's another example of what we did, and we just changed it about a bit. Okay, I'm going to talk about our senior citizens group now. So we have this, here's some pictures of our lovely senior citizens coffee morning. These lovely people are lovely, but they were just a bit of a hard nut to crack in terms of the gospel. We'd just not found that anything that we had tried had really worked to soften them towards the gospel. And so we were kind of a bit out on a limb with Who Cares. But what we did was we had 4 coffee mornings over the period of a term. And at the first 2 coffee mornings, we put this board up that you can see in the left-hand corner, that we just made by printing off some of the answers that we'd had from Who Cares and popping it on a board, tablecloth underneath, books on the top, and cards with a little post box for people to take part in that way if they wanted to. And so immediately when they came in the room, it was like, oh, something different is going on. And what happened with this board was that actually one guy in particular walked straight in, never ever wanted to talk about Jesus before, walked up to the board, pointed to one of the cards and said, that one is me. And that just gave an opportunity for me to chat with him about where he was at with his faith and what particularly was going on for him. And so would definitely recommend doing something like that. We could give you help with that if you wanted to as well. Not in these pictures, but on the other morning I put banners up and balloons as well. So again, just making it a little bit special. And so during the morning, I just got up in the middle of the coffee morning while they were chatting and just said, just going to speak for 2 minutes on something called Who Cares. I used the blurb that's in the back of the handbook that you can get a hold of. I literally just read it out. Explained to them how to take part in the question and what we were going to do about it. And then the cards were already on the table for them to just literally pick it up, write it down. Then I went round with the post box and they just popped them in, and then they just carried on chatting, and that was it really. So it was just very, very easy to do that. And so we did that for 2 coffee mornings. We listened twice, then we took the data in. You can see the schedule here. So we listened in January, February, data processed, and then in March and April we decided to do 2 responses and just make them a bit shorter, because their attention span wasn't very long. We decided to do a 5-minute testimony followed by a 5-minute gospel presentation off the back of that message, and we found that worked really well. It took less than 10 minutes. They had a personal story of how Jesus has walked through that specific issue with someone, and then a very short gospel message off the back of it. I think I just did one kind of off the cuff, which is not very like me, but worked really well. Very easy. And then at the end of that, we could invite them to our invitational Sunday, our Who Cares Sunday on rejection, which we did, and we had the flyers ready to give them out. So the great thing about having a Who Cares Sunday at the end of every term is that you always have something to invite someone to. So if you're thinking about doing regular events, then would definitely recommend just giving people as many access points as possible. Okay, I'm now going to talk about youth outreach. Just to say about the treasures, the senior citizens coffee mornings, we actually have found that it worked really well. And once they'd done Who Cares for 4 months in a row, they kind of expected us to talk about God at some point during the morning. And so the team decided that they were just going to carry on having a 5-minute kind of slot in the middle. And that has worked amazingly well. And we would not have been able to do that without Who Cares. So hopefully you will have a similar experience as well. Okay, youth outreach on Fridays. So this was with young people, and we just found that it worked so well with young people. They just loved doing it. I think they just loved being listened to, really. So we listened 4 times, and what I did was I did a training session with our team leader using the handbook. It's all in there for you. And then she kind of passed on the information to the teams as they were going out. I think the detached team, had a backpack with some helium balloons on the back one time, so that when the young people saw us, they knew something was different. And they just did very personal, we're doing this 1-question survey, would you like to take part? And they loved it. And we even had some people wanting to do it over and over again, which we don't normally recommend, but they just loved it. And so when we took in the data, the top issues that came up were mostly around not feeling like you could cope, or when you get super stressed or feeling low. So again, we decided to do 2 responses where they came to our drop-in, and we just had a very personal interview. Rob did the first one on Who Cares When I Can't Cope, and it was very raw, very real, and he said that some of the girls who were listening in were looking at him like, I have never heard anyone say anything like this before, and they just took a lot of time to kind of process what was going on there. And then at the end of those, we again had our Who Cares Sunday that we could invite them to, and our Christmas family service. At the end of, here's the flyer that we did for those 2 things: come and hear stories of hope. And our youth outreach worker said to me, this is so easy, it just feels like we could just carry on and just keep going and keep having people come in and share their stories, which was the plan until coronavirus. So hopefully when we can get back to normal, we will carry on doing that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to skip my next example, but there's another example in here of how I did it with the Girls Lounge, which is another youth outreach. And this group is crazy. They are nuts. And we give them a sugary drink when they come to us as well, which doesn't help. And what I found was when I spoke about Who Cares, they were dead silent. You could hear a pin drop in the room, which has never happened before. And when we did the response, it was genuinely, like, it was nuts. It was crazy. There were tears everywhere. They were crying and walking out. But I had not had the opportunity to do that before, to really speak explicitly about Jesus. And with this one, we decided to do 4 interviews with people, just because it's so easy, and kind of help to build a bridge between our church, young people, and our youth outreach. So we're going to get them to come in as well. Here's a card that we did. Again, you could look through this if you had the PowerPoint. And at the bottom there were just some tick boxes that they could tick for more information, and we had a couple of them tick those. A couple of the girls wanted to find out more about Christianity, which I did not expect, and we're hopefully going to start some one-to-one Bible studies with them, which is like a proper dream come true. Okay, so Who Cares Online? This will probably be the most relevant to you. So this was even easier than before. All we did was I made a Google form which looked like this, You can do that really easily, and if you want help with that, you can email us as well. And it just had basically what is on the card. So we made a Google form so people could do it online. And what we did was we asked the church to have a goal of 5 people that they were going to ask over 2 weeks, and send the link to the Google form round to their friends and whoever via Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp or whatever they chose to. And people said that they found it almost a bit too easy to do that. And we had lots and lots of responses from that. My husband did it with his work colleagues as well. So he works in a school, and he sent it round under the pretense of it's part of staff wellbeing. Sent it round to all his colleagues, and we had a few of them kind of email back and say, wow, this is really cool that you guys want to help during this really tricky time. And then we just kind of did our normal Who Cares Sunday, but online on YouTube. And we had more people tune into that than we had before. We had video interviews with Sandy Miller and some of the Who Cares videos from the website. Super easy, just putting it all together, but we had great response from that as well. And then we ran an alpha course off the back of that, and now we have 3 people hooked into community groups. So that's pretty cool. So this is the flyer that we did, that we again sent round via social media. We didn't print that one because we're in coronavirus time, but there's the example. So this is the kind of simple breakdown of how it works for us. So we want to listen first, of course. Then we respond to that specific group. Then we respond wider with the Who Cares Sunday. And then we're responding even wider with the booklet giveaway. That's kind of all I had. I have stories and things to share, but we're running out of time. If you want any help, if you want to pick my brains, then I'll put my email in the chat. You can email me, or you can email Lorna at who-cares.org.uk. You can have the PowerPoint and my notes if you'd find that helpful.